Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Keneally, Global Director of Communications with LiveTiles, and I'm here today to present a short webinar about the power of a modern intranet and why it's an essential tool to support us in the way we need to work today, particularly when we talk about a hybrid and flexible world of work. Recently, LiveTiles was proud to be present and to participate at the Gartner Digital Workplace Conference in London. And the theme there was about the changing world of work and how that wasn't just in terms of us towards a more flexible way of work, but in terms of the tools we use and how we need to change up if we are to really provide an employee experience that's fit for purpose in the modern world of work. Partly about what is happening today is we're becoming much more employee-centric in this distributed and digital workforce. In a recent study and research collaboration that LiveTiles conducted with the OECD, the Organization for Economic and Development Cooperation, one of the findings that came out of that, and we'll share the full report with you in the resources to this webinar, but one of the findings that came out of that was that 82% of employees will move job if there are no flexible work policies in place. That is quite an important data point, particularly in terms of understanding that the hybrid world of work is an irreversible trend for today's employees across all generations. I'd like to also refer to the Gallup World of Work report, an excellent report that comes out every year, and hone in on one particular statistic there that jumped out at us, and that is that 69% of people are emotionally disconnected from their work. They're completely disengaged. They feel no sense of connection or belonging to the employer and the organization that they're working for. When we're talking about hybrid, flexible, remote setups, this is an even greater challenge. And I think a real red flag for organizations to understand that they need modern solutions to really deal with this challenge. Speaking about the Gallup World of Work report, as I speak today in June 2023, they've just issued the latest edition. And there was one really important takeaway there, which they indeed highlighted as possibly the most important takeaway from the entire global survey that they did. And this was in the context of the remote, hybrid, in-person in the office discussion or controversy that's going on these days. They were basically saying it's irrelevant. What is most important is that employees are engaged. It doesn't matter what's their location, what's their role, what device that they're doing most of their work on or doing most of their collaboration on. The fact that they feel engaged in their work, seen, heard, and understood, essentially, then this is the most important discussion and the discussion we should be having. So definitely worth getting yourself a copy of that report, which has just come out. So some of the pain points I'd like to go through now that we're learning from in the market and that we see in the market in terms of the organizations that come to us to try and solve some of the key pain points that they have in the digital workplace. And this is also a summary of some of the key pain points from the hundreds and hundreds of digital workplace leaders that came and talked with us at the recent Gartner event. Onboarding is absolutely a key pain point that comes out across all organizations and businesses. The experience of onboarding has changed dramatically for many people. When I started my career and when people started their careers up until recent times, you went into the office, you met everybody in person. That's no longer the case for many employees. My own nephew started his first career job during COVID and never met his colleagues face to face for about 9 months. So it's an extremely important part of the employee journey, and it's extraordinarily important to take into consideration how employees want to experience this and where the experience is falling short. So this is certainly a major challenge that organizations are facing today, because of course it's directly related to employee retention and recruitment success. A second one, as I mentioned and referred to in the new Gallup report, is about engaging. It's all about engaging employees. That could be with the content, with the mission of the organization, with their ability to socialize and connect on a more human level with their colleagues, and that they really feel that they're in an organization that appreciates them and takes their own voice and opinions and talents into consideration and recognition. The third one, very important and often overlooked. We talk about attracting employees and retaining employees, but once you succeed in recruiting employees, it's then really important for organizations to continue to inspire them, provide those platforms where they can ideate, share ideas, create their own communities of interest, and really feel like they're part of something that is beyond the transactional and that is much more on the attractional side of work and the inspirational side. And of course, this is directly and indirectly in some cases, but it's very much linked and associated with the innovative capacities and cultures of organizations today, which is a major competitive advantage that all organizations need to consider, regardless of the areas that they're involved in. Retaining employees, as I mentioned, extraordinarily important, and one of the main pain points that many organizations are having today. A lot of what we're discussing in the digital workplace and in the modern intranet discussions with our customers is framed in the broader strategic context of the war on talent. So if we haven't addressed this challenge as a business, then there will be issues in terms of retaining employees. And remote first organizations are particularly challenged in this and are struggling to shift their policies in terms of retaining, inspiring talent during their tenure with the organization. So definitely a major pain point that we solve and help organizations solve every day. Inclusion is a really important one, and I think during the pandemic experience, the shared experience that we've had, that has left such an imprint on the way we work, this issue of inclusion, as well as the broader issue of diversity, equity, and inclusion, has become really better understood by organizations and employers. I will return to this issue again later in the presentation, but the opportunity is there. Yes, this is identified as a challenge for organizations, but the opportunity is there, possibly like never before, to really leverage the technologies available, the digital workplace technologies, the modern intranet technologies, leverage them to create a greater culture of inclusion, to include more voices, more participation, more feedback with employees, more two-way dialogue. And there you are really building up a culture which is set to thrive and succeed in the modern world of work. Referring back to the experience of the pandemic, and that was this global phenomenon that will be with us for some time, but we're absolutely hurtling out of. I think it's important just to reflect in terms of the different phases that we experienced. The first phase, as I see it, was the technology phase. Digital workplace leaders, IT leaders around the world, they essentially equipped the global workforce to work from home. It was a remarkable achievement. Yes, born out of necessity, accelerating something that would probably have happened in 15 to 20 years organically, but accelerating it into essentially a 3-month period, and then sustaining it after that. So this is an enormous shift and an enormous achievement. Once that was done, the issue of security had to be addressed in phase 2. You didn't want, your smart fridge jumping into a Teams meeting with you. And of course, all of the key security concerns that organizations which would have been reluctant to jump into a fully digital workplace were faced with, and were addressed successfully. We have a lot of clients, for instance, in financial and banking sectors and verticals who successfully shifted entirely into remote working models during COVID, and have largely kept that flexible hybrid model since then, because they've proven that it has worked successfully, worked securely, and has really provided a much greater work-life balance and employee satisfaction for their communities of employees. The third phase, I believe, we're in now, and in many ways it's a more complex phase. This is how you really support organizations and the leaders in organizations to manage virtual, hybrid, distributed teams, manage remote first organizations, and to really help nurture those social connections, meaningful connections in a virtual world of work. And that's something I'd like to address now, but that is absolutely, it's a mainstream news story today. It is about the future of work, which is being designed in real time. It's evolving in real time. And it is IT leaders and digital workplace leaders that are designing the future of work. So that is, in order to do this and to deliver upon this, it's essential that digital workplace leaders provide an experience for employees that is fit for purpose, for this more asynchronous, more distributed, more flexible workforce that the majority of the world's employees are participating in. So what are the great differentiators? What are the key features and services that you need to provide that are differentiated from the sort of legacy and traditional intranet internal communication systems? So let me run through a list of which we believe are the key ones. And again, these also come out of a lot of conversations that we had at Gartner, as well as with our research in the market based on customers who come to us and the problems they need to solve. It's not an exhaustive list, but it is an important list which shows the differentiators that a modern intranet system, potentially sitting on top of Microsoft 365, sitting on top of SharePoint, should deliver and meet the expectations of today's employees. One is navigation. You'll all be familiar with the frustration of searching for something in your internal system. You know it's there. You've been told it's there. It could be a policy. It could be a handbook. You know it's there and you can't find it. You're getting completely unrelated content from 4 years ago from another geographical region. Extraordinarily frustrating. That's an issue that can be easily solved with modern intranet systems and integrations. Analytics, an extraordinarily important one. For many, maybe the most important one. We've chaired recently a number of roundtables with communications leaders and with HR leaders, and they've identified analytics as the chief technology support that they need in order to really bring a much healthier and satisfying employee experience to their organizations. It's not just about, you know, the vanity metrics and the hitting the different sort of KPIs that the communications department may have had, for instance, but much more around the sentiment and behavior of employees, so that you can constantly iterate and improve the employee experience that you're delivering through a modern intranet. Absolutely essential to be at the core of any internal communications and employee experience platform. Personalization, and I will come to this at the end of the presentation. In many ways, we're in the age of personalization. Today's employees, again, across all generations, they expect and need and deserve a more personalized digital workplace experience. They don't want to be overwhelmed with the noise of irrelevant information or irrelevant applications, or they don't want to be constantly wasting time searching for what they need. They need their own intuitive, personalized system. It will have the complexity of the technology behind that, of course, in order to deliver that experience. That's precisely what the likes of LiveTiles provide for our customers. We take the complexity out of it and simplify and personalize the experience for employees, so that what they're getting and what they're experiencing is helping them to be more efficient and more productive, but also less stressed and less distracted by all of the irrelevant noise and information that can really swarm them in some of the traditional intranet experiences. Branding and user interface design. This is really important, which many out-of-the-box solutions will not be providing. Any heads of communication will tell you, or a communications team will tell you, that to provide a consumer level experience in your internal communications or intranet environment is extremely important, not just from the branding point of view, but from the employee engagement and employee advocacy point of view. You want your employees to feel like they're part of the organizational community and connect much more to the brand and get that experience that you're providing to your external customers and stakeholders. Enterprise search related to navigation as well, but you need search that's smart, that's personalized, that's underpinned with good governance, and is delivering the data, the resources, the tools that your employees are looking for in an absolutely relevant and an effective manner. Mobile first is an experience that all intranet and internal communications platforms should be providing, not just important for frontline workers and non-desk workers, but it's important for all employees so that they can decide when to connect with different parts of information at different parts of their workday, and again, much more fitted to the asynchronous way of working, or for global organizations that have a 24-hour rhythm, such as LiveTiles. This is absolutely essential that you provide this experience. Also an experience in a way, not just for people to consume information, but they can create and share information, which is super important. And that brings me to content publishing. This is maybe one of the key features that we discuss with many of our customers, particularly from the communications and HR side, and it's the ability to allow people to easily create and share content, whether that's organic storytelling where everybody has access, or whether there is certain permissions and gateways provided, so that it is segmented out in a way that would be more relevant and more in line with the organizational policy. Extremely important in today's world, where that storytelling and that access to information at the corporate level is essentially the lifeblood and oxygen of that organization, and needs to be done in as simplified and as accessible a way as possible. Linked to that as well is the ability to socially connect through a digital workplace, through a modern intranet. It's not just about the productivity. It's not just about the playbooks and the handbooks and the KPIs. They're important, of course. That's the bottom line stuff. But it is increasingly important about the ability to help people to connect socially together. So having the ability to create communities, to have visual storytelling features that are distinct to your organization. These are really, really critical and very much appreciated by today's employees, who might find themselves working at their kitchen table 90% of the time. They want to feel more connected and more that greater sense of belonging with their employees and colleagues. Directory and employee profile management. At LiveTiles, we have an automated directory profile management system, which automatically updates everybody's names, details, roles, lots of other information that can be tailored by the system administrators themselves, and also creates automatically the organigrams. And so it's always updated and always correct. And what I always think about here is, we all understand the importance of collaboration, and that's never been more important, arguably, in the way that we're working today, in the sense that so many people are working in a flexible and asynchronous way. But if you cannot find the colleagues or the skills that you need to collaborate with, then it's going to be very difficult for collaboration to be a fluid part of your culture. So you need to have this part right. This needs to be a cornerstone of the foundation of your modern intranet. Targeting and governance, this can send signals of control and command to some people, but absolutely not. This is, again, essential to provide the most personalized experience, the most stressful experience, to organize the chaos that can often happen in an intranet and environment. This is an essential part of what we do and what we deliver, and is regularly a piece of the solution to the problems that customers come to us with, because it's a piece that they have struggled with. If you want an internal communications and employee communications platform that is stress-free, that is providing relevant information in a real-time way, that is relatable, then you need a good targeting and governance system underneath that to deliver that experience. Massive amount of benefits. And finally, in terms of this slide, but absolutely not finally in terms of all of the additional benefits, that a modern intranet will bring to your M365 and SharePoint experience, but it's the integrations with M365. It's essential. One of the design principles at LiveTiles is be where the user is. We live and breathe by this. We shouldn't be expecting users to find the information that you want them to find. We shouldn't be expecting them to switch between lots of different applications. We should be where the user is, and that means we have to have an extensive and smart integration, of course, with the entire M365 platform and SharePoint, but also to bring in all of the tools and resources and applications that employees like to work with. That could be Workday, Salesforce, Slack, etc., etc. We need to accommodate all of that and personalize it into the experience for employees. So that's with the distinctive features that you absolutely need in order to deliver the employee experience fit for today's world of work, and to address the pain points that I mentioned earlier, such as onboarding, employee retention, for instance. But now I'd like to talk to you very briefly, and I'll share these slides afterwards, but just in terms of some of the customer proof points from our own community of customers. You can see when we rolled out some of these solutions for the likes of Victorinox, for instance, they found a 14 times increase in information consumption. This is an extraordinarily important KPI for any intranet manager, for any internal communications team, and indeed to give the ROI on all of the different types of information and communication that is produced in-house on a day-to-day basis by all of our customers. You see with Deakin University up there in the top 23, in the top left-hand corner, they improved 23% in efficiency and 67% increase in user satisfaction. Deakin University is an Australian global university, top 1% in the world, and one of the global leaders in innovation. So they developed their own systems for targeting this, and these are the figures that they provided with us. So really, really fantastic to see that. You can see Engie, they're a major global energy company based out of France, 375% increase in engagement, and Galenica, 302% in frontline inclusion, something I will come back to in a moment, extremely important. Another customer I'd like to talk about is CreditSafe. They're a global financial institution, and we worked with them just at the beginning of COVID to really help them to set themselves up for success as they all went completely remote during the COVID experience. Their own monitoring and measurement systems provided these statistics with us. That was a 70 to 73% improvement in employee satisfaction, participation, and team spirit. And they've even linked it to the customer satisfaction and the bottom line with a 97% improvement in client portfolio returns. And I guess we don't focus on that often enough, and it's a study we definitely would like to be carrying out soon, is that link between employee experience and customer experience. One of our own customers, CreditSafe, has done the work for us here today, proving that direct link, and it's great to see that. Their CEO is somebody called Cato Syverson, very innovative and interesting CEO. Cato's quote that I have up here on the screen, I'd just like to talk around it for a moment. I love this quote because Cato they have entities in more than 16 countries, lots of different languages, from the Nordic languages to German to Japanese, etc. And one of the technical features that we bring to their internal employee communications platform is the ability for instant machine translation. So for instance, I can be in Tokyo writing a post, and you can be in Sweden reading it in Swedish and commenting in Swedish, and I'm back in Tokyo seeing it come back to me in Japanese, and I'm replying, and this creates a really great sense of inclusion and togetherness. But Cato's quote here, I'll just repeat the first part of it. Immediate translation is not just a technology feature. It's a signal to each employee that even if they're sitting at the kitchen table, they're a vital part of the worldwide organization. I absolutely love this quote because it speaks volumes about what we think as the philosophy of our company as well. And that is, it's not just about the technology. It's never about just the technology. If anybody says the technology will provide you with all of the answers, they're wrong. It's often and always about the people first with the technology, but certainly we need to look at the people and technology as an associated solution. It's always about the people and the technology. And here you can see that what a relatively technical and complex solution in terms of machine translation, but what it has achieved on the people side is contributed significantly to a culture of inclusion and togetherness. And I think that is extraordinarily important, because inclusion is something that, again, it has there are many dimensions to it, from the people side, from the culture side, from the values side, but also on the business side. You have 22% reduced employer turnover, 88% increased engagement, and 33% increase in profits for organizations whose employees feel that they have a culture of inclusion. These are stats that come from different sources, such as McKinsey and Gallup. So these are really important to take on board. And that's like to achieve that in the modern world of work, to achieve it at scale and in a way that is flexible and asynchronous, then it has to be a solution that is employee-centric, a technology solution that is employee-centric, and that really takes on board the importance of inclusion and the employee voice in the modern workplace. Wrapping up now, I just wanted to reference back to personalization again, generational personalization. This is a name we're sort of giving internally to, you know, all the different studies you see about Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, important studies in their own right, but often we think it maybe sort of clouds a little bit or confuses the issue quite a lot, because what we're seeing really is across all the generations that are in the workplace today, Generation P, generation personalization. People want more choice, more autonomy, more flexibility, and greater connection, both to the mission of the organization as well as to each other, and of course to the tools and resources that they need to do the best work that they can possibly do. So we think about this a lot when we're designing solutions. And for digital workplace leaders, I would also encourage you to think about generation personalization, deliver that personalized experience for your employees. It is complex, but the solution and the experience will be simplified and will be exciting and delightful for employees. And I think that that's an extremely important point to consider when we're developing our strategies for an enhanced and elevated digital workplace experience for employees. So traditional intranets are no longer effective. I've laid out very quickly there some of the key reasons that we believe there's some of the key features that you need to bring to elevate your digital workplace for your employees, and some of the key pain points that you can address to effectively support new ways of working. If you're interested to find out more about this, to have a walkthrough of the solutions, the modern internet solutions tailored specifically to your organization's challenges, please get in touch and we'll do a quick turnaround and provide that for you. Also in the coming weeks and months, we'll be providing increasing number of webinars which will show more around how the technology is solving all of these specific employee communication and modern ways of working challenges, and creating the opportunities that we discussed in this short presentation. So for now, I just want to thank you for your attention. Please do not hesitate to get in touch at any time. You can learn more about the LiveTiles Intranet solution by scanning that QR code. And we will be sure to notify you about future webinars on this topic. And please do not hesitate to provide us some feedback on what you thought about this presentation and what you'd like to see more of in the future. And we'll be delighted to do that. So without further ado, from me, Paul Keneally, and all my colleagues at LiveTiles, that's a wrap for today. And thank you very much for your time.